What's up guys? Welcome to AnimeKouhai. If you'd like to help me out, please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel.
So he decided to wait and see what effects his approval would have. That's why he consented to speak with Granit, but when Granit urged him to turn on Rimuru, Benimaru immediately regretted his decision. He felt offended by the mere notion. He drew his sword and pointed it towards Granit, having had enough of this.
Whoa, that's not good to have such a short fuse. Isn't it true that monsters are all about survival of the fittest? Aren't you supposed to serve and obey the powerful? And don't monsters frequently change masters?
Benimaru's temper nearly erupted as he listened to Granit say this. He was the monster force's commander-in-chief, and he believed he had a good handle on his rage by now, but
I guess I'm done laughing at Xian.
He made fun of himself for it, but he was no longer going to keep back his rage.
Draw your sword. Further discussion is pointless.
Oh brother.
Granit shook his head.
I'm not sure what you mean. This is both an act of kindness and the most generous concession you could possibly receive from me. I was allowing you to work for me without hurting anyone because I had a tremendous deal of respect for your position.
He sounded very perplexed by it. He didn't doubt his own strength. He was saying all of this because he honestly believed he could defeat his opponent. And Benimaru, well aware of this, became even more enraged by the moment. He had only resisted beginning to slash because he wanted Granit to fully regret his remarks.
Are you keeping this conversation going to make excuses for your defeat?
Ha, what a strange thing to say. Although I appreciate your spirit, you really ought to understand where you fit in. Yes, my guys were perhaps too haughty for their own good, and they have all been defeated. It would embarrass me to even look His Majesty in the face right now. But if you could just nod your head at me, we'd be stronger than ever. I'd be content, and you wouldn't have to die. Can't you see how we can create a good friendship this way? And now that I've made you an offer, do you see what's at stake? I'm not the type to use you and your people as disposable pawns, you see.
Regardless of how apparent Benimaru's anger was by this point, Granit kept going. Worse, he was plainly genuine in his statements. He undoubtedly exuded a hero's aura, and his demeanor revealed his straightforward, honorable manner of doing things.
Think about it if you're a commander as well. Consider the number of soldiers and officers you may save with a single decision. Additionally, let me let you in on a cold, hard fact. Dumroda and Kondo are indeed powerful. Dumroda and I have been friends for many years, and I am well acquainted with his personality. Of course, I'm stronger, but not even a primal could defeat him. And have a peek at Kondo. A relative newbie, but just as powerful as we are. He's actually too dangerous, and His Majesty put him under his control because no primal could defeat him. What I mean is that if you want to confront His Majesty, you must first defeat 4 invincible guardians, including myself and Valgrin. And you do know how improbable that is, don't you?
Benimaru observed that this person has a rather loose tongue. He was a little less enraged after that, so he made the decision to see what else he could use him to get. There were words here and there that infuriated him, but if Granit could tell him more about the inner workings of the Empire, he would be willing to put up with it. One particularly intriguing aspect was how the Emperor had Kondu under his control. It appeared evident now that Rudra possessed some form of dominant skill.
Of all the stupid things to say to me, it's a little strange to hear you determine that we can't win. In any case, even if I answered yes, I have no interest in letting you dictate what goes on in our hearts and minds.
Ha, have I caught your attention? I'm quite sure I have. I know you ogres have long served as skilled mercenaries, so I believe you may be interested in joining me under the appropriate circumstances. And, as you mentioned, His Majesty can indeed manipulate people's minds. But isn't it pointless to be concerned about it? Still not convinced. You may be entitled to, but it's a tricky situation, you know. After all, if you are governed over, you should be proud of it. After all, if you weren't qualified for the position, we'd just ignore you. Kano is dominated in the same way, but he is unaware of it. I'm the only one who knows anything about it. I can't help but feel sorry for him at times.
This is not progressing at all.
It was completely out of the question. Granit's rationale, flawed as it was understandable to him. There was nothing to be sad about if you were being mind-controlled but didn't understand it. Yes, that was valid, but it wasn't exactly a convincing argument.
Do you not believe? But it's true, you have nothing to be concerned about. I took a different approach because I felt you wouldn't trust me otherwise. But I can guarantee you that you and your companions will never be dominated in that manner.
Why not?
Because you are weak.
Aha.
This infuriated Benimaru even more. Granit's speech was completely genuine. There was no indication that he was bluffing or intending to disrespect him. He was simply stating a basic fact in his view that Benimaru and his team were weak. Benimaru, well aware that he had grown into something more powerful, had not expected such contempt.
Well, listen to me. What I mean is that as our foes, you're on the strong side. But joining us wouldn't be worth having your thoughts subjugated. It appears that His Majesty has gained possession of both Kondo and Yuki, but he has also seized control of Sir Vildora's mine. I don't think there's enough place for you to join those ranks, but if you vow fealty to me, you'll be free to roam. After all, you'd be no match for me even if you challenged me with all of your minions.
You have a lot of confidence. But, you know, I'm just as confident in my own abilities, and I'm growing tired of hearing your bullshit, so how about we see who is correct via actions rather than words?
Benimaru repositioned his sword on his shoulder. He believed he could gain some more useful information, but realized that doing so would just make him angrier. Granit sighed with disdain.
You monsters are so difficult to deal with. I'm reaching out a hand to you, and you just push it away. It's unfortunate that you can't see the reality of this, but oh well. I'll give up on attempting to persuade you. Maybe I could talk to whoever just defeated Minaza.
Benimaru laughed.
It's best not to. Shion is more stubborn than I am.
For the first time in this encounter, Granit's expression became solemn.
Oh, I don't think I told you about Minaza. Are you familiar with her?
Isn't intelligence gathering an important part of any war zone? Sir Rimuru instructed me to be meticulous in such matters.
Interesting. But how did you receive that info within Lady Valgrin's dimension? It would be a travesty to slay a man of your height.
Granit finally drew his blade. He was adept with any weapon, but he always felt more at ease with a familiar blade in his hand. His mood entirely shifted the instant he held it out to Benimaru. His previously placid demeanor had evaporated completely, and he exuded a sense of superiority that would give even a god-ogre a run for their money. His short hair stood on end, as though he embodied the phrase, hair-raising havoc.
In the other world, there is a saying, ask not the sparrow how the eagle soars. The meaning is that a little child cannot comprehend the concepts of a grown man, which perfectly fits you. You should have listened to me when I gently guided you.
Are you still lecturing me here? I'm sick of it.
Then die. Arnie Destroyer, Quaking Blast.
Granit unleashed his entire force from the start, completely confident that would be the end of it. He was talented in enemy analysis, capable of determining his opponent's combat skill via read enemy status, a skill provided to him by Rudra via alternate. That gave him a correct understanding of Benimaru and his team's power, and he was confident he couldn't be defeated. Read enemy status wasn't perfect, of course. If the target had awoken to an ultimate skill, it'd be impossible to measure their complete power. Still, evaluating magicule counts was enough to determine the scale of power involved, and Benimaru didn't appear to be a threat in that regard. Neither did Soe, Shion, or the demons, for that matter. Granit realized that none of them could have mastered the ultimate skill. The primals were a thorn in their side, and trying to negotiate with them was a fool's errand. He intended to exterminate the demons if they came through this gate, but instead, he got Benimaru. Granit sensed immense potential in this, an enterprising monster on the edge of learning his ultimate skill. But he was no match for himself as he stood. He had a lot of magicules, but not nearly as many as Granit. As a result, it was logical for him to conclude that Benimaru posed no threat. Granit wasn't arrogant or reckless in the least. Depending on the nature of the enemy's ultimate skill, he may have a difficult time. An extended battle may cause his opponent to believe his life is in jeopardy, triggering an awakening. But a simple talk would not suffice. Granit was determined to finish off Benimaru with such overwhelming force that he would be unable to counter. He knew Benimaru didn't have a hidden transformation ability like the lycanthropes, but now that he had, there was no way he could lose. Granit's triumph was a foregone conclusion.
What a disgrace. You're not really showing me anything despite your confidence.
What?
Then something really unexpected occurred. Army Destroyer. Quaking Blast, a move with enough energy to melt Benimaru, was deflected harmlessly by his sword. It was an incredible sight to behold. Granit's equipment was top-notch from head to toe. Benimaru definitely had a good sword, but it couldn't have stood up to God-class equipment. And, more importantly,
No way. This is incredible. Why have you acquired an ultimate skill?
Granit's screams were understandable. The concept of someone acquiring an ultimate skill without even the slightest indication seemed insane. Even though Benimaru stayed calm, it made him nervous.
Why are you so taken aback? Aren't we all continually evolving in life?
He pretended to be calm about it, but on the inside, he was sweating profusely. He had, in fact, gained this strength just as he moved up to stop Granit's blade. And it was right then that he saw his true power. Benimaru would have died if his timing had been even slightly off right now. He might perhaps have perished. There was nothing to chuckle about.
It was a close call. I didn't think he was concealing his entire capabilities. But without this power, I'd have lost, huh?
He was relieved that he had put up with that narrative for so long.
Right. It's now my turn.
Benimaru mentally shifted gears and concentrated on his adversary. He was relieved to survive, but he could think about it later. The newfound power was precisely what he had hoped for, so he wasted no time in unleashing it, as freely and easily as if he were taking a breath. Based on the knowledge Seal gleaned through researching Velgrund, this was Amaterasu, Lord of Shimmering Flame, and ultimate skill. His favorite blade Gurren became a black glow, the ominous haze of heat that now represented his power. This was a symbol for something that could not be burned, frozen, or cut open, as well as a physical representation of something that was completely impossible to hit.
That's it for this video, guys. Thank you for always watching my videos and supporting my channel. A big thanks to the AnimeKouhai patrons who made this video possible. Jared Bressler, Chad Vota, Chris Guzman, Havox, Speed Saber, James Waters, Arijit Das, Curtis Loban, Judah Herrera, Justa Guy, Misael W. Hernandez, Jason Martin, Zach Rossan, Jarius Ladek, Stone Larone, Alfonso Smith, Donald Williams, Moab A, Day of Light, John M, John Charles, Godman Gaming, Markithian Tidwell, Andre L. Hamilton, Adrian, Kumo, Sanketh Chalu, T. Bush, John L, Edgar Fuentes, JV, Dirty Old Hobo, Thomas, J, Christ, Juan Ignacio, Joshua Cousins, Jose Hernandez, Vethelny, Lunel Scarlett, Khaled, Christian Deshazer, Cal Robs, Divine C. Harris, Panda Cats, Aaron Alarcon, DeAndre Nance, Monty Boy 98, D-Man, Ruben, Luis Caro, Yuki Iki, Pedro Robles, Chris Jr., Isaac, Koala King 93, Paul DeGrassi, Little 95, Coyote de Peza, Quilly Buckner, Zephyrus, Alver, Normal Defate, Joshua Andrade, L, Gary Miles, Nobody 0034, Dragon Spawn 666, J Rule, Sayonori, Alfredo Renteria, Liel Tiram, Liron Sangkap, Eric Tass, Christopher Mash, Ekotski, Foolish Prophets, Ethan Madison, Louis Strutter, Charles Bailey, Sky T, Diego Ginoza, Nick H, Andre Hamilton, Jason Torres, Sesh, Guy Ansley, Simon Road, Emperor WSA, Mika Espinosa, George Hage, Pratik Bandari, Dariha Skerte, Jackson Early, Carl Stephen Bernadal, Tank Bailey, Gareth Hashimoto, Steven Madison, Homelike Drop, Nasir, Mam Wang Min, Vasto Lord, Martin Ramos, Marl Barsha, Hansel Ortega, Efrain Hernandez, Luca Gaming WTF, William Locke, Bismarck Munoz, Arion Booker, Kamal Luke, Izat, Wei Jun, Alvin Quarty, Chris Kaalim, Q Sing Sang, Steven, TNN, Nicholas Badal, Dijo. Thank you so much for helping out. I'll see you guys in the next video.